this is the second position which Vlaicu has given us. And yes, could I have a few words about this problem? What am I looking at?
So this problem again was composed as the classic example for one of the editions of Romanian Suricat element.
Okay.
And of course, not to spoil the surfing pleasure, I'm not going to say which is the theme of the problem. But
Okay.
this time you will see there are only two moves, help self-mating 2, and the twin is with the white knight from c4 moving to f8.
Okay. So this is the twin. Okay, I'll remember that. And this is a help self-mating 2.
In two moves, yes.
Okay, so this is interesting, yeah, because the first one move, so white and black both help each other, and then white just backstabs black and says, you know what, you have to mate me now. So in just one move, so
Exactly.
I have to be really precise with what I do, yeah? And the first thing I see, as I see with many, many help selfmates, is that there's a battery going on. There's a bishop on h2, there's a rook on g3, and there's a black king on c7. So there's a bishop rook battery, and we see the same thing with black. Black has a rook on a1, bishop on a3, and a king on a5. So there's a battery there as well. So somehow I have to do something such that black is forced to give white checkmate. And I would presume here that there's no zugzwang because there's simply too many moves to count, yeah? Of the rook, of the bishop. So there's no zugzwang. That means white has to give a check of some sort such that the only way to stop that check is by giving checkmate itself. So, hmm.
Very well, Anirudh, and I suggest you to supersede like in the case of the previous problem. Ask yourself, where will be the white king mated? And the second question, which will be the mating black piece?
Hmm.
That will help you a lot in the process of thinking how to find the solution.
Okay, right. So the first thing which I see is that if this black bishop moves pretty much anywhere on this diagonal, then that would be checkmate if this white knight was gone, of course. Yeah, if this white knight was not present or maybe on a different square, like it goes to e3 and then this black bishop moves, that's checkmate. So I would presume it's something to do with that, yeah. Um, and what else? Maybe it's something like a rook g8 check, and then black is forced to play bishop d6, which is going to be checkmate. But for that, this knight has to move away, and also black has to cover c6, yeah? So, okay. Um, so maybe, oh, this is tough. How do we cover c6 properly? Bishop c5. So the thing is, something like knight e5 first move would simply ruin the whole purpose of the battery, yeah? So knight e5 is not the right way to cover c6. Maybe actually, oh no. So I was thinking from the composer's eyes, what is this black knight on a8 doing? Maybe it's just a cook stopper, but perhaps it would also be taking part in the solution itself. Like maybe this black king is moving back to b8. No, but then the Black Knight could come to C7. Yeah, no. Uh, ooh.
For this particular problem, I would recommend you start with a twin B, not focus too much on twin A, because
Okay.
that knight c4 is difficult. So start with part B, because it will be easier to solve.
Okay. I will start with part B then, the knight on F8. Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, this feels a lot like nicer as well because now there's no knight coming in the way of this battery. Like, if I can force this bishop to move away, then that will be checkmate on this diagonal, of course. So now all I have to figure out is How in the world I'm gonna do that? Ooh. So I'm thinking again, my rook g8 ideas. The main idea I was playing rook g8 was because to guard this bishop, yeah. But maybe this bishop could be guarded with d7, bishop d7. But then no, the king has a escape square on b7. So maybe not that. Um, it has to be a check by the rook, yeah. So like I guess the last two moves, it's almost like we know that it's gonna be a rook move and then bishop d6 checkmate. So all I have to figure out is how am I stopping this black king from escaping and defending this c8 square. Yeah, perhaps no, that wouldn't work either. I think it's like how do I even like cover the c6 square? None of the black pieces can get there in time. This white knight can't guard it. This black king, yeah, I can't do anything about that. Maybe this black king is not getting checkmated, like not getting checked on c7. But I would feel like that ruins the point of the battery. But maybe that's what the composers were doing. Like, it's always confusing, when like solving and you're thinking from the composer's point of view. Like, what are you trying to do? You don't know the theme yet, so it is a bit tough. So,
That's a correct question because if you see in the position, you have also a black knight on a8.
mm,
Yes?
yeah,
So that black knight on a8 says you that it must guard b6.
mm,
So
oh,
that means the black king should not necessarily stay there. Because otherwise, what's the purpose of adding that black knight on a8?
exactly. I mean, maybe it could be as a cook stopper, but in these type of compositions, using a piece for a cook stopper is like rarely seen, yeah? All pieces have a role, so okay, I would take your advice for it and say that the black king is not getting checkmated on c7. Now the options are c6, which is frankly not possible. Yeah, there's too many options, and there's not going to be a checkmate with this white bishop or with this white dark squared bishop, such that this black bishop can move. So b8. But the thing is, b8 would never work either, yeah, because now this knight can come in between. Like any time I give a check. So perhaps it's d6, but then there's too many squares to cover. There's square on e7, all of these three squares on the fifth rank. Maybe it's d8, but then if I'm going to d8, then like how am I using these? Oh, maybe there's like some sort of funny business with this rook going to g8 and then giving a different battery. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try exploring that. So, it's first white move. So white plays rook g7, yeah, g8 check. Black goes king d8. Oh my God, yeah, and knight g6 check covers e7, and now black is forced to play bishop f8 checkmate. Right, okay, that's smart. That is good. So this is like paradoxical, like who would think of, moving this black king away from this diagonal, this beautifully set up battery, and we're ruining it with the first move. So, okay, but we make a new battery, like we form a new battery with this rook and knight, followed by checkmate. So I'll move on to the twin now, which is this knight on c4, yeah? And same thing. Perhaps it's a rook c3 this time. Like I think that I like that idea, because it's a similar thing. Instead of rook on g8, it's a rook on c3. So I'll just do that. Rook c3. Ah, sorry. Rook c3 check. Um, king c6, and right now b7 d7 covered. This covered, and so knight e3 check and bishop c5 checkmate. Whoa. Okay, this is nice. This felt like really nice when solving it as well.
So the idea of the theme was, of course, the battery played by both sides. And in each solution, white battery fires and creates another battery which fires in the second move.
Right.
And in the last black move, the direct battery fires again. So that was the theme of the Suica tournament.
Yeah.
And if you look what is the theme is realized, if you know the Zabuno theme, does it say something to you?
Nope.
Zabuno themes means that the mobile piece of a white battery becomes the rear, so the front piece of a white battery becomes the rear piece of the second battery. And
Oh.
in this case, the white hook becomes the rear piece of a rook knight battery.
Yeah. Yep,
So
yep,
that
yep.
was the idea.
Mm.
Okay, this theme is more often met in Selfmates, but I wanted to show it in Help Selfmates in a very simple and didactic composition, just to make it that it's still possible to realize this theme in Help Selfmates as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the nature is a bit tough for the solver as well because you have to think a bit outside the box, not use the preset, the battery which is there. You have to destroy that battery and make a new one in this rook. And this bishop is just acting as a guard for d6 or c7 in each scenario. Okay, lovely, lovely. So we move on to the next composition. Is that okay?
Okay,